This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Psych Mom Show. Today, I'm going to talk about self-compassion, what it is, and why you may struggle with it. And this is really relevant for adult children of dysfunctional families, which, of course, is the majority of people who are listening, who are trying to learn about themselves, who may struggle in relationships, parenting, etc., because you did not have a role model for those things, or, of course, at least not a healthy role model. So before that, please do subscribe. I have so many, over close to 180 subscriber episodes. You get them all for $8.99 a month, hours and hours of listening. Most recently is Not Working. It's pretty terrible for many people. Speaking about two groups, stay-at-home parents of school-age kids and retirees. And, plenty of other ones, actually. So let's see. The one before that was, if you're scared to confront your partner about their dysfunctional parenting, you will end up on the wrong side of history. Before that was, what are the two components of a happy marriage? And so many others. Okay, so self-compassion is when you feel like the same levels of compassion and empathy and kindness towards yourself as you do toward other people. And if that sounds like kind of a joke to you because you're so bad at that, then here's why. You did not, A, see that at home. So a parent was always shitting all over themselves. They were always self-deprecating, lots of comments. Women in particular remember their mothers talking about how ugly and fat they are, looking in the mirror with constant disappointment, always on a diet. Or and on the dad end, some of it is just feeling like a loser and a failure, not making enough money, not feeling like he's keeping up as a provider, or keeping up with the Joneses enough. And of course, there are also comments from men about losing their hair, weight gain, that really hit people pretty hard, hit their children pretty hard. Because remember, your children are emulating you, and you are emulating your parents. And if your parents have no self-esteem, it's pretty hard to develop it. And if your parents have no self-compassion, which means they are not kind to themselves, and in fact, they are pretty mean to themselves, then that is what you have as a role model, and that's what you emulate, right? So that's one possibility, the possibility that you were modeling on this. And a second possibility is that you were talked to pretty bad yourself. And so that could have been by a parent. It also could have been by a sibling, and I just spoke about that in the most recent podcast 2 days ago or something, 3 or 4 days ago. And sibling relationships provide a template too. So if you were always bullied by a sibling who is calling you ugly or stupid or fat or anything, then that voice can go in your head. And certainly it should be obvious from anybody who listens to this podcast over time that if a parent called you bad names, then that turns, you're not self-compassionate because they weren't compassionate to you, right? And it's very hard to be nice to anybody that nobody else is nice to, right? This is how bullying happens. One kid is mean to somebody, and then it's kind of hard to go against that kid. So then another kid joins in, and another kid joins in. And if somebody's victimized, for example, if at home you were considered the stupid one, compared to a smart sibling or a parent or just everybody in the whole world, you're just the stupid one, then you start to have that internal voice. Every time you do anything that, even if anybody else did it, you wouldn't think it was particularly stupid. So for example, let's say you're late to the dentist. If your friend was late to the dentist, you would say, oh, no big deal. There was traffic. Of course, you can't be on time for everything. But if it's you, you're stupid. I'm so stupid. I'm always so stupid. Why didn't I leave earlier? I should have known that there would be traffic at this time. What's wrong with me? I'm so stupid, And you would never, ever, like if your friend said that they were late to the dentist, you would never say, you stupid idiot, why didn't you leave earlier? And it's not even like you're thinking that and you don't say it most of the time. Although some people, I'll get to that in a second, model lack of compassion in general, not just to themselves. But most people that struggle with this are struggling primarily with themselves, speaking that way to themselves. And if I bring up, would you say that to a friend or to your own kid, they laugh. It's like so ridiculous. Of course, they wouldn't think their friend was stupid. But for them, in their mind, this is just a continuing pattern of behavior that shows, that proves how stupid they are. Because in their mind, from childhood, they have been stupid, And so there's all these pieces of evidence, And if you go back through those pieces of evidence, and that's why therapy is really, really transformative for a lot of people in reshaping your narrative, So let's say, for example, this with the stupid thing. I'll say, oh, you're so stupid. Okay, why? Like, what are the things? Well, first of all, I chose the wrong major in college. I chose English and I should have chose econ like my father told me I was being stupid. I would be making so much more money. And then we'll be talking and it's even just challenging it, literally being like, do all econ majors make a lot of money? Looking it up, no, obviously, and would they ever think that of somebody else? What if their own kid wanted to be an English major? They will literally say to me with a straight face, oh yeah, that would be really good for her because she's really creative. She would really like it. And I'm like, well, if somebody would have talked like that to you about majoring in English, then you would think about majoring in English as a smart decision that, was going to amplify your natural creative writing talent. And you could really, now give back because you had studied something that you were good at. And check out your career right now. You're in marketing. You may not have been as good if you weren't an English major. Econ wouldn't have helped you with that. This is something you're good at. Whatever. So even just challenging the facts of it is useful. And thinking wait, what was told to me? Oh, it was literally told to me by somebody that I respected that it was stupid. And then when I was young, I did this other thing. I let the dog out, and the dog got hurt. So that was a trauma. And I'm so stupid that I left the dog out. And then we go back. Did anybody else ever let the dog out accidentally? Oh, yeah, but when I did it, then, it was stupid because the dog got hurt. But that's just chance, If you see so many things it's called a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's confirmation bias. There's a million different names for this. If you already think that you're stupid, everything you do is going to be seen as stupid. So now let's turn to the people who also have a lack of compassion to others. Now, when you receive no compassion, then, it's kind of hard to learn to give it. Many people do, and that's wonderful for them, and those are really, really lucky and skilled people that really try to be different than what they learned. But your template, if you saw people being mean at home, is to be mean. If you saw people talking smack about everybody and judging constantly, this is something that I work on with people in therapy all the time. And I even have a post on it, my family was judgmental and I find it hard not to be judgmental or something like that on drpsychmom.com. And yeah, if your family was always judging people, then it's really hard as an adult not to just do the same thing and be mean and judgmental toward other people. And often you could learn not to do it publicly, but it's hard at home, and then you end up not breaking the cycle and teaching your kids to be judgmental. And so if this resonates uncomfortably with you, then it could be a personal goal, to find positive things about other people. To, for example, if somebody's rude to your child, instead of just jumping right to, well, they're an asshole and they're mean and fuck them. And, not in those words, but that kind of style, oh, well, maybe we just shouldn't hang out with her because, I don't think that, that's the sort of person, this person's 7, that you really ought to be hanging out with. Or be like, hey, maybe they were having a bad day. Why don't you give them a little grace and see how they act tomorrow? Everybody has bad days, that's not the sum total of the character of your 7-year-old friend or your 17-year-old friend or your 37-year-old friend. Maybe they just had a bad day. Now, if that's something that would never have been said in your family of origin, then you could see why it might be new for you and even a little bit strange. And remember, the sort of people that were trained at home to look at the world as, who's being mean and judging. Those are the victim perpetrator people, which I always talk about. A lot of the parents that I call, quote, professional victims, and I think I've podcasted about that, are these people that were actually pretty mean to other people. So they're always saying that they're being victimized by all these mean other people. They wouldn't be able to say they were a victim if they didn't say something was mean and bad about the other people. It would just seem like they themselves had a problem navigating the world. So they don't want to say that there's any lack of competence in there, for them. So instead, another person has to be, hurting them or victimizing them. So this is the story with the bank that I always do. I'll do it again just in case I have any new listeners, where the parent says something, makes this whole biblical tragic narrative. It's David and Goliath, but they're going to the bank. So I had to go to the bank today. And do you know that I asked for change and they said they had no fives? And I said, let me speak to the manager. And you know what? They did. And I got my fives. It's like, Jesus Christ, you could go to the bank. It's like something most people would forget about doing. But for people that are really caught up in this victim perpetrator narrative where they have to be the scrappy underdog at all times, then their children heard loads of stories like this, and they end up thinking about other people as mean. The bank teller in that situation was mean instead of somebody that didn't happen to have any fives. And then when a big enough stink was made, the manager had to go collect all the fives from the other tellers, right? So, it's like you could see it. You could choose how you see things. And if you're somebody who is raised without compassion for others, including the bank teller in that hypothetical story, and, similar stories that you would have heard over the course of your childhood, then you're going to think that the world is filled with people who you have to guard and defend yourself against because they're so mean. So you want to get to them and judge them before they could judge you. And so then you're somebody who struggles with compassion and empathy. In addition, I'm sure it's a self-compassion. And therapy, as I'm saying over and over, because it's so true, can really, really help with changing the frame, changing the narrative, taking off these shit-colored glasses that you were trained to put on as a child and just seeing people as trying hard, doing the best they can, including yourself. And then you'll be able to pass down a different sort of worldview to your children where people aren't bad. You're not bad. There is no bad. People are just trying to do the best they can. They get up. They think about their own lives. They try to have a good day in whatever way that means it to them. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes they have a bad day. And then we try to extend the same grace and compassion that we extend to ourselves when we internally ourselves have a bad day. All right, I hope that this was useful and instructive. If this is something that you struggle with, you can change the frame. So many people say this is the most important thing that they got out of therapy, individual therapy, is self-compassion, and giving themselves grace so that they don't wake up and already feel like a piece of shit. There's so many people who are trained to literally they get up, their feet hit the floor in the morning, already they feel bad. Nothing's even happened. They feel like they snooze their alarm too much. They feel like they're already going to look in the mirror or get on the scale and be unhappy with themselves. They're already late on whatever they were supposed to turn into work because they're an idiot. The day's not going to go well with their kids because they're a bad parent who should have prepped things in advance. Starting with such a burden like that is terrible. And it's really something that you can interrogate in therapy and practice new and healthier ways of being, which your children can then learn. All right, have a great day, guys. Thanks for listening.